Things are heating up inside the building at Bank of America Stadium, and the whispers I am hearing suggest a massive shift in philosophy is coming. The ground game was supposed to be our identity, but the current backfield room is facing a crisis of confidence that could derail everything we are trying to build. A single decision from the front office is about to change the trajectory of this season for good. If you think you know how this offense will look in September, you might want to think again. Something big is brewing in the shadows right now. Bryce Young is the centerpiece of every decision being made right now, and Coach Dave Canales is fully committed to a run-first identity to protect his young signal caller. However, there is a massive problem developing with the personnel available to execute that vision. Chuba Hubbard was a reliable workhorse last season, but the internal metrics show a worrying regression that the staff cannot ignore. Even more concerning is the situation with Jonathan Brooks, who has now suffered his second ACL tear in just over a year. You cannot build a smash-mouth offense on hope and medical reports. This has forced Dan Morgan to look outside for a solution that actually moves the needle. While names like Kenneth Walker and Rico Dowdle were mentioned in league circles, nothing materialized until a shocking new possibility emerged from the AFC. The Dolphins are entering a phase of total uncertainty, and their recent history shows they are willing to move elite talent for the right price. This brings us to a potential blockbuster move that would involve sending a package of assets to Miami to secure a true game changer. Imagine adding a player who finished fourth in receiving yards among all backs while providing elite speed. The front office knows that sticking with the status quo is a recipe for another losing season. They need a spark, and they need it immediately to ensure their investment in the quarterback position does not go to waste. But the real question is, how much are the Panthers willing to sacrifice to make this happen? I am hearing that a specific trade package is already being discussed behind closed doors, and it involves a significant draft pick and a young player with high upside. This is not just a depth move, it is a statement of intent for the entire league to see. The pressure is mounting on the general manager to deliver a weapon that can truly terrify opposing defensive coordinators. If they pull this off, the entire NFC South will have to recalibrate their game plans. But as we know in the NFL, these high-stakes deals can fall apart in an instant if the price becomes too steep. Now it gets serious because the secondary player involved in this entire saga is someone who could change the dynamic of our backfield forever, and his name is already creating waves across the league. Before we dive into the second star involved in these trade talks, you need to be part of the inner circle following this team. Real fans already know that keeping up with these roster moves is the only way to understand where we are heading. If you want the deepest analysis and the latest whispers from inside the facility, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications now. I have a question for you today. Would you trade a high draft pick for a veteran star right now? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below immediately. Devon Achane is the name that is currently setting the scouting department on fire as they evaluate potential upgrades. He is not just another running back, he is a pure offensive weapon that mirrors the impact Jahmyr Gibbs has had for the Detroit Lions. While Chuba Hubbard can handle the dirty work between the tackles, Achane provides the explosive perimeter speed that this roster currently lacks entirely. But what if I told you this isn't even the biggest problem the Panthers are facing? The true challenge lies in the trade compensation required to pry a Pro Bowl caliber talent away from a team that claims they aren't selling. History tells us that Miami's front office will say one thing and do another, just like they did with Jalen Waddle. The proposed deal being floated involves sending Jonathan Brooks and a third-round pick along with a future fourth-rounder to the Dolphins. This is a massive gamble on a player who has shown he can be the most dangerous person on the field any given Sunday. Achane averaged incredible yards per touch and would give Dave Canales the perfect piece to develop Bryce Young. We are talking about a guy who can line up in the slot or take a toss to the house from 60 yards out. The fit is almost too perfect for what this coaching staff wants to accomplish. They want a dynamic duo that keeps defenses off balance and eliminates the predictable nature of last year's play calling. But pulling the trigger on a trade of this magnitude requires a level of aggression we haven't seen since the new regime took over the building. The fans are desperate for a winner, and the front office feels that heat every single day. If they pass on this opportunity, they risk entering the season with a backfield that is one injury away from total collapse. The clock is ticking toward the deadline, and every hour that passes without a move increases the tension inside the facility. We are looking at a situation where the team must decide if they are ready to compete now, or if they are still stuck in a perpetual rebuild. The implications of this specific move reach far beyond the running back room and into the very soul of the franchise's future success. The decision-making process in Carolina has reached a critical crossroads that will define the Canales era before it even truly begins. On one hand, you have the conservative path, which involves trusting the recovery of Jonathan Brooks and hoping Chuba Hubbard regains his 2024 form. This path preserves draft capital, but leaves the offense vulnerable to the same stagnant performance that plagued the team last year. On the other hand, you have the aggressive path, which is trading for a superstar like Devon Achane to create a track-meet-style offense alongside rookie Tetairoa McMillan. This move would signal to the locker room and the fans that the time for excuses is over. If they choose to stay put, they are essentially betting that their coaching can overcome a talent deficit at key skill positions. But the internal scouting reports are clear about the lack of elite speed in the current rotation. The impact of adding a receiving threat out of the backfield cannot be overstated for a quarterback who needs easy completions to build rhythm. We have seen how Mike McDaniel utilized Achane in Miami to create mismatches, and Dave Canales is hungry for that kind of versatility. The strategic context here is vital because the Panthers are trying to replicate the success of the Lions' backfield, which transformed their entire franchise culture. By pairing a bruiser with a burner, they create a dual-threat nightmare for opposing linebackers. However, the risk is real as running backs have a notoriously short shelf life in this league, and giving up picks is always a gamble. The front office is weighing these scenarios against the backdrop of a division that is suddenly looking more competitive than expected. Every decision made in the next few days will echo throughout the season and potentially the next 3 years of the rebuild. The urgency is palpable because other teams are starting to make their moves, and the market for elite speed is shrinking by the minute. If the Panthers wait too long, they might find themselves left with A.J. Dillon as their primary hope, which is a scenario no fan wants to contemplate. The future of this offense hinges on whether they choose to be bold or remain cautious in a league that rewards the brave. At the end of the day, being a Panthers fan means living through the highs and lows of a team trying to find its way back to greatness. We have seen elite talent walk out the door, and we have seen the struggle of starting over more times than we care to count. This potential move for a star back represents more than just a personnel change, it represents a change in our identity. It is about giving Bryce Young the tools he needs to succeed, and showing the rest of the NFL that Carolina is no longer a pushover. Whether the trade happens tomorrow or the staff decides to roll the dice with what they have, the passion in this building remains unchanged. We want a team that fights and a team that runs the ball down people's throats with style and explosive playmaking ability. This is about pride and about restoring the roar at Bank of America Stadium for every single Sunday afternoon. As an insider, I can tell you that the conversations are intense, and the desire to improve is genuine from the top down. We are standing on the edge of a new era, and the next few moves will tell us everything we need to know about the vision for this franchise. The uncertainty is part of the game, but the belief in what we can become is what keeps us all watching. Do you believe this front office has what it takes to pull off a blockbuster deal, or are you worried about the cost of giving up our future picks? Your voice matters in this conversation, and the community here wants to hear from the real ones who stay through it all. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the second this deal breaks, or if a new target emerges on the radar. We are in this together, and the journey is just getting started for our Panthers. Stay tuned, because the next update could be the one that changes the history of this team forever. What is your final verdict on the backfield situation? I will be reading every single comment to see where the fans stand on this massive crossroads. Keep pounding, and I will see you in the next one.